I am your club president, Steve Bertman, and today we have candidates for one of the hardest jobs in the country. Well, not the hardest job, which is getting a straight answer out of Hillary Clinton and or keeping the batshit crazy from coming out of Donald Trump. Delta, like both presidential campaigns, has had a little bit of a hard week. Yet flights out of Tallahassee International Airport have went off without a hitch. Unfortunately, none of them have been heard from since. And to be fair, Delta has offered to knock off $2,000 off the price of each ticket to Atlanta if they can't find the aircraft. At the head table today, our debate's going to be moderated by El Presidente for Life, Steve Bousquet. He is the Capitol Bureau Chief for the Tampa Bay Times, or some of you may have remembered it as the St. Pete Times. So if we give Steve Bousquet a big round of applause, he'll come up, take the show.
Good luck. Thanks, Steve. Thank you all for coming, and it's great to be here. We're in a very important political season, a very important year for a lot of reasons, and we live in challenging and very interesting times, and we're about to have a debate with the four men who want to be the next sheriff of Leon County. So let me introduce them right now, if I can, please. Walt McNeil. Walt McNeil is a former Tallahassee police chief, a former police chief in the city of Quincy, and he's a former secretary of the State Departments of both Juvenile Justice and the Department of Corrections. Walt McNeil. Thanks, Walt. Tommy Mills, please come up. Tommy Mills has a long career in law enforcement in the Big Bend, 34 years of law enforcement experience, 24 years in Leon County and 8 years in Gadsden County, and of course has been a candidate for sheriff of Leon County twice before. Charlie Strickland, please come up. Charlie Strickland is a businessman here in Leon County and is a former lieutenant in the Leon County Sheriff's Office. And finally, Sheriff Mike Wood. Sheriff Mike Wood joined the Leon County Sheriff's Office in 1983 and was appointed sheriff in January of 2015 after the passing of former Sheriff Larry Campbell. Here are your candidates for Sheriff of Leon County. So the first opening statement is from Tommy Mills.
Good afternoon, Tiger Bay. Thank you for this opportunity to come before you and to speak and to let you know why I'm running for Sheriff of Leon County. I'm running for Sheriff of Leon County because I care. I care that my home is safe. Leon County is my home. I care that my family is safe. My family I was born and raised here in Leon County. My wife was born and raised here. We raised our 3 girls here, 1 attorney, 1 speech therapist, 1 doctor of physical therapy. God has been good to us, and this is my county, and I want my county to be safe. The young lady I married, and I married up, not down, 38 years this month. I'm a deacon at my church. I'm a Sunday school teacher. I'm running for the office because I feel that I can make a difference. It is time for change here in Leon County. So far, our crime rate, 2 years running, we have the worst crime rate in the state of Florida. I can make a difference in that. It's time for someone to go down in our community and stand up to the criminals and say it's not on our watch.
Thank you. Sheriff Mike.
I'd much rather have my meal and watch, but today's my opportunity to be in the barrel. So thank you for having us here. Be kind. I know you're in your reverend group. I am born and raised in Tallahassee. I've worked for the Leon County Sheriff's Office for 33 years, as you heard before. I'm married for 26 years. I have 2 daughters who both attend college here locally. My wife is also a native Tallahassean. I had the privilege to start with the Sheriff's Office in 1982 as a volunteer in the Reserve Union. I was hired in 1983. In the following 33 years, I've had the opportunity to serve in every capacity and every rank the Sheriff's Office has, including the jail director, director of law enforcement, as well as the SWAT team member and SWAT team commander. I just feel like my experiences, my commitment to leadership gives me a unique opportunity to lead the Sheriff's Office forward. Unlike some of the other candidates up here today, I think I'm uniquely qualified, and we'll probably have the opportunity to talk about that in a little bit. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Charlie Strickland, and I want to be your elected sheriff of Leon County. Excuse me. I'm originally from Marianna, Jackson County. I came over here 30 years ago and went to FSU. I have a bachelor's degree from there. When I was 40, I went back and got a master's in business at Florida State University. I am a small business owner. I run co-owner of Talent Range, Talent Training Group, Talent Holsters. We do a lot of business nationally. We've trained through Talent over 6,000 people to carry and conceal and protect themselves here in this community. Being from Jackson County, I had to take a lot of jokes from Sheriff Campbell back in the day until he married Michelle. I was the Jackson County redneck affirmative action hire until he married one. And we were able to, I never had to listen to that story again after I said, Sheriff, why don't you go home and talk to your wife about that? Anyway, we'll get into some qualifications. Listen, I've worked in most of the big units in the agency, SWAT team, violent crimes. I've done those things, and we'll talk more about it.
Opening statement, Walter King.
Good afternoon, Tiger Bay. Steve Bousquet has already indicated what my qualifications are, my background. Let me just say to you that turn on your television, read any paper, any day of the week, and the first thing you'll know is that law enforcement is in crisis. That crisis is being predicted by those who understand criminology and understand what's going on in our country. There are predictions that say we can expect to have in America, on an ongoing basis, terrorist activity. The criminologists are telling us that we can expect to have civil unrest, just as we've seen over and over in other places of our community. Law enforcement is going to be challenged at every opportunity and scrutinized. It's at this time in the city of Tallahassee and Leon County. We need a leader who understands and has dealt with these significant issues, these very complex issues that are going to impact the very quality of life we all have come to enjoy and cherish so greatly here in Leon County. So I ask for your vote.
Thought we'd start at the beginning. You know, I've covered politics in this state since the 1980s, and I thought I'd seen everything until the candidate qualifying deadline for Sheriff of Leon County. Just to recap, 3 of you switched your party affiliations right before the qualifying deadline. Tommy Mills from Democratic to no party affiliation. Sheriff Mike Wood from Democrat to no party affiliation. Charlie Strickland from no party affiliation to Republican. Legal, but it's been described in the pages of our local newspaper as expediency, gamesmanship, and worse. We're going to begin here with Tommy Mills. Why switch if not for pure political advantage?
Well, I canvassed in the community, and I dealt with this last time running as sheriff. People would say, I can give you a check, but I can't vote for you because you have a closed primary. I believe that the office of sheriff ought to have an open primary. I swap Democrat to NPA that everybody can vote for the sheriff. That's their constitutional right to vote for the sheriff of Leon County. Not to be able to be in a closed primary, but for everyone to decide. If I'm not the man, then that's fine. But at least everyone had the opportunity under our democracy to vote for the next sheriff of Leon County.
At the last minute, 2 candidates abandoned their base. I'm leaving my party, I'm going to the middle because I don't see a path to success. I can't win where I'm at. I was a Republican. I seized on the opportunity to return to my base. I didn't see a path to succeed the way the election goes, running as a partisan politician as a Republican in Leon County up front, because we haven't had one since probably Reconstruction. A Republican sheriff is unheard of. Well, they gave me a stellar opportunity to return to my base, and for the first time in at least 100 years, have a Republican sheriff of Leon County. Now, I don't think the sheriff's race will be partisan either, but the fact is, it is. Everybody was going to get a chance to vote on November the 8th. It was just going to be between me and one of them. Now you get to pick between all of us. So the winner's probably not going to have 51%, but I've got an opportunity to win as a conservative and be a conservative voice in our community, and that's why I changed.
And it was a strategy. It was no different than other candidates who filed as an NPA to guarantee themselves a spot in the general election. When one of the candidates decided to change from Democrat to NPA in the 9th hour, I stepped back, I looked, I evaluated what I thought was best, knowing that I have support on both sides of the aisle. And I knew that if I changed from Democrat to NPA as it relates to running in the election, that I would give every citizen in Leon County the opportunity to evaluate all 4 candidates. Given that set of circumstances, I'm prepared to live with the outcome. So if strategy is a bad thing, it was his strategy. But on the other side of that coin, when I was hired for the sheriff's office in 1983, I was a registered Democrat. I've never changed my party affiliation. Under these circumstances, I felt like because I had support from both sides of the aisle, this was the best move for my campaign.
Steve, I'm a lifelong Democrat. I'm the only person here who stayed on course in terms of defining who I am and living by those values. I can recall when I was Secretary of the Department of Corrections. As you perhaps know, I was a Democrat who was asked to come and help Charlie Crist straighten out a number of departments. When Charlie decided to do something else and Rick Scott came on, some of my staff said, Mr. Secretary, all you got to do is change your party affiliation, and you can continue here with the Department of Corrections. I said, I won't do that. That would have been a strategy, but it would have been the wrong strategy. The sheriff has to stand for integrity of what he stands for. You as citizens of Leon County have to know what your leaders stand for and be consistent in what you believe. And that's what I've tried to do. That's what I'll continue to do.
In your opinion, as a law enforcement professional, are too much of the resources that law enforcement has spent chasing after nonviolent drug
Let me
users?
answer that question. I didn't want to go there. Yes, I think it is. But here's the thing is, there's a victim to every crime. People know the rules. It's up to the legislature, county commission, people who write rules, laws, write the laws, will enforce them. That's our job. Do I think that we spend too much time chasing nonviolent, minor drug offenses? Yeah, I think we probably do. We spend an inordinate amount of resources. A lot of our vice unit runs around chasing college kids that are selling weed, when we ought to be out solving burglaries and solving violent crimes and working sexual batteries and assaults and getting in the neighborhoods more. I'd love to do that. I am a big fan of civil citation program. I issued my people when I issued one of the first adult civil citations to James Winston. You've heard that story, right? Anyway, thankfully for him and the FSU football team, that program existed. And we're required by policy to issue one if they meet the criteria, and he did. So that program has been around a while. It's been around since before the sheriff was a sheriff.
Mr. Mills, just to recap, that is the question is whether or not too much of law enforcement's resources are spent on nonviolent drug offenses. And if you agree that the answer is yes, what would you spend that money on?
I disagree. If you're using drugs and it's against the law, it's our job to enforce the law. But now, because we can come up with creative ideas like civil citation, and then work on when a person is sentenced, does a sentence have to be impact so that it impacts our jails and it impacts our prison system? I was looking at Norway and some of the other countries. They've had to close down some of their jails and some of their prisons. They went back and they looked at sentencing guidelines. And so we need to go back and do the same. I think it's our sentencing guidelines. It used to be if a person came in with a misdemeanor, the judges had the authority at that time that when they sobered up and says, Tommy Mills, you came in on this and you spent 2 days in jail, I'm gonna give you time served, and there was no probation. But we attached probation to everything, and we started a downward trend. We got to look at the sentencing part to these issues.
Obviously, the Smart Justice Initiative has talked about the fact that marijuana as a drug that's being used casually does have a negative impact on the resources we have in our community. And as such, obviously, we should look at that in a different way, and we have been. But, you know, the larger issue is in terms of marijuana use, and there's an issue of selling marijuana. Use and sale are two different things. We have to make sure that we continue to impact and deal with those persons who are selling drugs in our community differently. And we should perhaps get to the bottom of why some of the issues that we've been talking about here right now on this stage. I'm not sure you've gotten the truth about exactly what took place with some of the use that we've seen. But That's not for me to decide, that's for the citizens of Leon County to decide.
And that is this, if we can defer a youth from that burden on a civil citation for a misdemeanor marijuana arrest, then I'm certainly in favor of that.
So the first closing statement is Walt McNeil.
And thank you again, Tiger Bay, for having this forum. I hope I've illustrated to you, first and foremost, that I am perhaps the most qualified person to ever run for Sheriff of Leon County. You talk about having been your police chief for 10 years, Secretary of Department of Corrections, Secretary of Department of Juvenile Justice. I was elected by some 20,000 law enforcement leaders from across this nation and around the world as the president of the International Association of Chiefs of Police. I'm an FBI graduate. I have, Charlie talked about being a CEO. I can tell you, if you run the Department of Corrections, if you have anything to do with the Department of Corrections, you are in fact a CEO. And I tell you that it's leadership that's required to move us from where we are today, and dealing with the major crime problems we have. I know we've talked a lot about all these guys up here. The four of us are all good people. But folks, it's going to take a lot more than just being a good person to deal with the problems we've got. And not now, but into the foreseeable future. When you start talking about terrorist attacks in our community, you start talking about racial unrest. Those are significant issues. It's going to take significant leadership to make sure we're in a place where we can deal effectively with those so they don't impact the great quality of life we all enjoy here in Leon County. Thank you.
When you hire a floor manager to run a factory, a CEO of a factory, okay, a business person, you get to pick a CEO of your company. Do you hire a person that knows nothing about the industry, that's been removed from the production line for 15, 20 years, that doesn't know what goes on out there with their employees, or do you hire somebody that's connected? Well, a year ago, I was out here on these streets answering these calls. I'm the most educated person up here. If you look at degrees, that doesn't mean anything. It means I tried. I ran violent crimes. I ran financial crimes. I ran the SWAT team as a team leader. I was in the training section. I trained most of the deputies there. I've done all these jobs and I'm connected. In the last year and a half since I run this campaign, I have learned a lot. Leadership in Tallahassee, starting my business, getting involved in community groups. I will tell you that while I may not have the vaulted titles and experience at that level that some of the other candidates do, it's just a title. It's just a job. You want somebody with passion, drive, experience, know-how, determination, intelligence to lead this county, and I'm that guy.
Well, I take issue with the suggestion there's a disconnect. I've been with the Leon County Sheriff's Office from the ground up. I've been in the streets. I've stood over the homicide victims. I've held hands with sexual assault victims. And I've run the very units that conduct those investigations. I'm absolutely in tune with what my vice narcotics unit is doing on a daily basis, including the search warrant today that yielded a major amount of narcotics, money, and guns from the inside of the city of Tallahassee. So we're working every day, and I'm very connected to what we do. I would suggest that my pedigree or my resume is not titles, it's experiences. I've had experiences in every opportunity the Sheriff's Office provides, including being a director of the jail for 3.5 years. It gave me a clear understanding of not only the business model, and I take issue with the CEO, I believe I'm the CEO as well, but the business model, the operational model of a correctional facility, which is half of our budget, and the operational office side on the law enforcement division. So I sense that my experience is not just titles, it's experience, and I truly, truly have a passion for this place, the people we serve, the people I serve with, and that I will always be a resident of Tallahassee, win, lose, or draw from this campaign stand.
And you heard us talk about leadership. 8 years ago, I resigned from the sheriff's office, and I ran for sheriff because I saw where we were headed. I saw the decline in leadership. 4 years later, I come back and I run again, and I say to you that crime and violence is out of control here in Leon County. It's time for, at that time, I said, a young man with boots on the ground that has the energy and has what it takes to make a difference. Today, I still stand before you and says, I've still got it. I don't know how long I'm going to have it, but I still got it. It's time to make a change. As a leader, I saw, and I took risks. I've always taken risks. I'm going to be quick about it. I told my father at 19 that I wanted to serve my community. He looked at me and he didn't know that the verbiage like poor. He said, boy, you're poor. You don't have nothing to offer. I have everything to offer. and I've given that. If you look at my resume of serving in this community, I've served you, I've served you, I've served you. I believe in service. Thank you.
These candidates to serve.
Let's get a big hand for Steve Bosquet as well. He did a great job. Let's not forget to vote in the straw ballot September 9th, next meeting. Put it on your calendar. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.